The picturesque scenery and captivating waters of the Great Lakes attract millions of beach-bound vacationers every year for a Midwest getaway. But a vacation here can become a tragedy if you're not careful. With tumultuous waves, strong currents, and rugged weather, the waters of the Great Lakes present the same dangers found at any other shore.
The Great Lakes are much smaller than the ocean, but they're large enough to produce significant wave action that put swimmers in danger.
Rescues and fatalities from drowning happen here every year. But with some knowledge, preparation, and respect for weather and water, you can make sure your Great Lakes vacation stays safe. Surrounded by hundreds of beach towns along 10,000 miles of coastline throughout 8 U.S. states, the Great Lakes are the largest group of freshwater lakes on Earth. Conditions at one beach may be very different from those at another. If you're planning a trip here, take some time beforehand to learn about the conditions for the specific beach you're visiting. Here are some important tips that apply throughout the region. Great Lakes beaches vary, from well-populated beaches with lifeguards to more obscure, unguarded stretches of beach. A guarded beach offers the safety of vigilant lifeguards and their guidance about the water conditions.
You're much more safe if you're at a guarded beach. Somebody has eyes on the water all the time. It's definitely a higher risk at an unguarded beach because nobody's really watching you and nobody can keep you out of areas that are dangerous, like near piers or in rip current channels. Lifeguards will know those things. The problem in the Great Lakes is most beaches aren't guarded.
For any beach you visit, and especially those without lifeguards, educate yourself beforehand about the conditions, exercise caution, and stay on top of weather and surf forecasts. Always check and obey posted signs, flags, or other guidance. The most significant drowning threat in the Great Lakes comes from a combination of dangerous currents and relentless waves that make it difficult for a distressed swimmer to stay afloat. Waves can have tremendous power. They can crash over your head, neck, or back with a strong, sudden impact that can pin you against the sand or hard, jagged objects, putting you at risk for serious injury.
Most days in the summer, the wave action is probably 2 feet or less. But it's those 10 to 15 days in the summer where we get the 3 to 6 footers. Over 80% of the people that drown in wave and current related incidents, the waves are in the 3 to 6 foot range. So people think they can handle it and they get into trouble.
In addition to the height of the waves, swimmers should also be aware of their frequency. In the Great Lakes, the wave periods, or the time between waves, are shorter than they are in the ocean. In the ocean, waves can be 10 to 20 seconds apart, giving you time to recover before the next wave comes in. Waves in the Great Lakes are more frequent, which means you have less time to recover before the next wave hits you.
The waves in the Great Lakes come at a rapid period, so every 4 seconds you see a wave. So if you're in the water for 15 minutes, you're being hit by 200 waves. That wears a swimmer down, and if you get into a current or a dangerous spot, you're already at a kind of a degraded state as a swimmer.
Before going down to the water, take a good look and watch the waves to get a read on the conditions.
What we say is to know before you go, kind of learn the lay of the land of the beach before you go. We'd like to have people look at the forecast to find out if the wave and current action on that day is going to be dangerous.
When entering or exiting the water, never turn your back on the waves and keep children close. Help them into the water and back to shore. Visitors to the Great Lakes should be aware of 5 types of currents commonly found here: rip currents, outlet currents, channel currents, longshore currents, and structural currents. Each type of current calls for different actions on your part to avoid or escape them. Let's go over it. Rip currents are powerful, narrow channels of water that can carry you away from the beach and into deeper water.
Rip currents are common in the Great Lakes. Rip currents are common in places that have very sandy beaches. The Great Lakes have very sandy beaches on a lot of them. So a rip current is when you get a break in a sandbar. Water washes up on the beach, and as it goes back through that divot in the sandbar, it rushes through there. It's kind of forced through there.
If you get caught in a rip current, stay calm. It will not pull you underwater, and its force will eventually dissipate.
You want to first try not to panic, and we tell people to flip over on your back to conserve energy, float with the current till you're out of it, and then what you want to do is swim parallel to shore and then back into shore at an angle. So you kind of float with the current to get out of it, kind of stabilize yourself, swim parallel to shore and then back to shore.
An outlet is where a river or a stream empties into larger bodies of water. Water flowing from a stream into the lake creates a current, similar to a rip current, that can carry you farther out into the lake than you were planning to be, or into rougher waters.
Yeah, you'll see it. It flows right out through the sand on a beach. Where we have more trouble with those are the medium-sized type streams where people like to play in them and they'll get caught in it almost like a rip current. It's the same kind of a thing. It's a jet of water into the lake and you're out over your head pretty quickly.
If you get caught in an outlet current, the method of escape is the same as for a rip current. Swim parallel to the beach and then at an angle towards shore. Channel currents typically form between the shore and an island or some other structure not far from shore. The water has to squeeze through the gap between them, which speeds up its flow. Channel currents move parallel to the beach, so if you get caught in one, it will pull you not away from the shore, but along the shoreline, making it difficult to stay in front of one spot on the beach.
You just really don't want to be swimming in between an island that's close to the shore and the shore, because if the wind direction is right, it can funnel through there and be very strong and you have a tough time swimming out of it.
If you get caught in a channel current, first, stay calm. Its pull does not take you far and will eventually dissipate. To escape, swim toward the beach. Long shore currents also move along the shoreline like a channel current does. But long shore currents can pull you for longer distances, and they can be strong.
If you put your chair out at a beach and you go in the water and you look up, all of a sudden you're 50 yards down the beach, that's a longshore current that took you there.
Longshore currents become dangerous when they carry you swiftly down a shoreline and into the path of other dangers, like rougher waters, larger waves, rip currents, rocks, and piers. To escape a longshore current, swim toward the beach. Structural currents are found alongside structures like piers and breakwalls and are usually always present. This is one of the most difficult currents to escape and is a significant cause of drowning at the Great Lakes.
Structural currents are dangerous because they're very strong, they're tough to get out of. Typically on a day where you've got structural currents going on, you have larger waves. So you're in a spot where waves are colliding into the pier and then bouncing back off, reflecting into the oncoming waves. So you have a chaotic sea state there, very tough to swim in. It's like a washing machine. So you have the wave action that's going on, plus the current that is trying to take you further out into deeper water.
If you get caught in a structural current, you cannot swim back to shore, as the currents are usually too strong.
They're faster than Olympic swimmers can swim freestyle. So nobody's going to make it out of it swimming directly into it because they're too strong. You've got to flag somebody down, get a life preserver thrown to you, or get to a ladder.
If the pier has a ladder and you are being carried toward it, try to get to it and climb out. Otherwise, in this life-threatening situation, conserve your energy and call out to bystanders on the pier to summon help and to throw you a life ring or anything else that floats.
So you're in trouble right away if you're in a structural current, and it pretty much comes down to your swimming ability and your fitness. If you're in really good shape and you're a really good swimmer, you're going to be able to hang in there longer. But if you're not in good shape and you're not a good swimmer, you're not in a good place in a structural current.
The best way out of this deadly situation is to avoid it from happening in the first place. When swimming, steer clear of the pier. Stay 100 yards away from piers. And if you find yourself drifting toward one, get out of the water and walk back to your original spot. If you get caught in any of these dangerous current situations, your first survival strategy is to stay calm. If you're caught in a current and get overly anxious or tired, stop exerting yourself. Float or tread water to conserve your energy and calm down, and then seek the best path to safety, either swimming out of the current or continuing to float while signaling for help. Walking along the iconic piers of the Great Lakes is an activity ingrained into society here. But even though you aren't in the water when walking on a pier, you are not 100% safe from weather, waves, and currents.
So piers are dangerous because if you're up on top of them and you've got waves coming in, not every wave is the same. They occur in a spectrum, so you may get a wave that's much larger than the 5 to 6 waves that just came in, and you can easily be swept off.
A strong wave can wash over the pier and knock you off your feet. Strong winds or slippery surfaces can cause you to fall into the turbulent waters below.
50% or around 50% of all current-related fatalities in the Great Lakes occur near structures like this, piers, breakwalls. So again, we want people to steer clear of the pier, move down the beach away from this area. On a wavy day, the incoming wave side, the structural current is flowing directly out the pier.
Do not walk on a pier during severe weather conditions, and never jump off of a pier.
All piers in the Great Lakes are built on essentially a rock pile. There are rocks below the waterline here, so if you're jumping off, you could injure your foot, injure your head or neck. So it's something you don't want to jump off of.
In the Great Lakes, cold water is a year-round threat. Even on warm summer days with high air temperatures, the waters stay cold, with water temperatures ranging from the low 40s to the mid-70s. They can also dip to frigid temperatures during the cooler months of the year.
You move up toward Lake Superior, it's generally 40s and 50s, so you can get into hypothermia issues with swimming in really cold water. If you unexpectedly fall in, you're in a bad spot.
Cold water shock can be deadly, leaving you incapacitated in just minutes, even before hypothermia becomes a threat.
Because you start to go numb, you lose your dexterity in your limbs, so you can't tread water anymore. So the biggest thing would be to wear a life jacket if you're in or near very cold water.
Although these tips can help you to escape danger, your best way out of danger is to not get into it. Know before you go. Arrive knowing the local weather and lake forecasts for the beach you're visiting. Conditions change throughout the day, so stay alert and check for updates often. You can also avoid danger by obeying posted signs and flags and swimming only at lifeguard-protected beaches. Remember that lakes are not swimming pools. They are inherently dangerous, unforgiving environments. Safety requires situational awareness that can be impaired by inexperience, recklessness, or the effects of alcohol or drugs. If you're inexperienced as a swimmer or new to the area, take care, stay calm, don't venture beyond your abilities, and always take a flotation device.
Just know before you go. Be prepared before you get to the beach. Know the hazards that are out there. We don't want to drive people away from the water, but we want you to enjoy the waves safely.
With a little planning, knowledge, and respect for weather and water, you can help make sure your vacations at the Great Lakes are happy and safe.